Hello, welcome to this month's demonstration for the Smile Create Repeat art supply subscription box. We're using supplies from the March 2019 surprise. Alright, let's get started. So we have these Bristol vellum surface artist trading cards and some color pencils and a blender that we're going to be using. I already did a pencil sketch on my card of a daffodil that we had in the yard. So this is, I started off, I drew right on the card, but I would recommend drawing it out in a sketchbook and then transferring it to your card just so your lines are lighter and you don't scratch the paper or anything like that. Alright, so we're going to get started. And you want to go, a few techniques that we're going to go over is layering the colors, because it creates more exciting colors, more vibrancy, and more just more interest. And we're also going to be doing burnishing and blending the colors with the blender. So I'm going to start off by doing the light colors first. And I'm doing this lightly. I'm actually using quite a bit of the side of the pencil. Oh, I messed up there. To get, to try to get an even lay-in of color, quickly and softly. And I drew on, like I said, I drew on here with the pencil, and I lifted some of the lead with the an eraser. I had just to try to remove some of it. And as I'm coloring, it looks like I should have done a little more because the yellow colored pencil is picking up some of that, graphite. So, okay, so now I'm just going over it. And you saw I was going this way, now I'm going in a different direction, just to get into the tooth of the paper, and I'm still not pressing very hard. Because I still want this light, because a light yellow is not a lot of yellow. So in order for this to be light, it needs to be, well, you can see how dark this yellow colored pencil is compared to the white paper. So if you're looking at value, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being white, 10 being black, this is probably a 2 or 3 maybe. So yellow isn't necessarily light. Alright, and then this is the green stem. So in order to make the green, we'll need the yellow and the blue. I'm going to go in and just color that yellow now to start. Again, light pressure. This is a nice pencil. This is the, I don't remember how to say it, the Progresso Koh-i-noor, maybe? Probably not, but that's how I say it. Being an artist is creating art, not knowing how to say all the names, so who really cares, right? Okay, so I'm going to work on the background a little bit too. And as you can see, I drew this frame because well, if you've watched these videos before, I kind of like doing that because I like having the subject of the drawing breaking the frame, and I also like to have a little bit of a frame to just add a little interest to the card. So I'm going to be doing a purple to blue background because I want to show you layering and fading. So I'll show you that now. So I'm going to go in with the blue, and I'm going to do this over the entire back shape here. And I'm doing light pressure again, but I'm choking up a little bit more on the pencil, as you can see, because I want to make sure I remain in control of what's happening, so it doesn't, so I don't interfere with the flower part of it. Okay. So we have the yellow and the blue filled in. And now I'm going to go in with the red because this part of the flower is a little more orangey. So I'm going to do a little bit of red, but I'm also going to try to use this to create some values and some definition. And it's going to blend in. So I think I'm going to go over the whole thing with light pressure because I don't want a lot of red, I just want a little bit of red. And then I'll go in and add some details. And I'll show you some other color pencil illustrations I've done, paintings, drawings, whatever you like to call them. Probably in this month's newsletter. All right, so now I'm going to go back with the yellow some more to see if I can make that blend a little more, and I want this yellow to be a little more saturated, so I want more yellow here. So I'm pushing harder now. This is called burnishing, where you're pushing the color into the paper and you're really blending it and giving it a waxy build-up. And what this does is I hope you can see that the color is okay. So now I'm going to add more yellow, because now that I've brought this up in saturation, which is the amount of color, I can see these leaves need more also. So I'm going from the center out because it's going to be a little lighter as I get away from the body of the flower. And I'm trying to do it evenly because I want it to be a soft transition. All right, now we're going to, well, let's see if we can get some of the green here. So I'm pushing harder now because I want this to be the shadow on the edge and drop the shadow from the yellow petals. Going to go back in with the yellow again because I want this to be more saturated. Again, more color. And then more blue. And now I'm doing little circles. The circles is just because that's a smooth way to blend without creating lines. And now I have my Colorless Blender. And I'm just going over it to blend the colors. All right. Let's see if we can get some purple in this background here. And then I'm going to bring it a little bit down here, and that's where I'm going to fade it to the blue. So right about here it should end, maybe a little bit so I can get it there. All right, so now let's see what we can do with the Colorless Blender. We'll see how that works there, yeah? And what the Colorless Blender is, it's pretty much, well, it's not pretty much, it's one of the Prismacolor color pencils, the soft core, and it's everything just like a pencil, except it just doesn't have the pigment, and the pigment is what gives it the color. So this would just be just like using a regular pencil, just without color. So now when you layer the colors, you can see that this looks maybe a little bit more red because the red is on top. So what you do is, if you'd rather have a blue feel to the pencil, to the color, you then go over with the blue, which we're going to after. But that actually creates a pretty nice shift in color. So let's see if we can do maybe a little bit more blue here. And then I'm going to go back up. Soft and light pressure up there. Then I'm going to come back down here. And when it gets into the blue, I'm going to go, I think I'm going to leave it a little lighter blue like that down there, because I like the purple, the blue, and then the lighter blue, so it looks like there's some light down there. Which is a nice contrast with the dark stems. So now that I have that blue, I'm going to go back in. Oh, I'm going to put more blue up on top because I'm going to put more red up there too. See if we can make a little more intense purple. And as you can see, how it was very red purple before, Now it's a much bluer purple. And I'm going to go in and really just at the top of it, I think, add more red. And you want to take your time. I'm going a little faster. I'm going a lot faster than you should be in yours, and faster than I would be if I was doing this as an illustration, not just a demonstration here to show, because I want to go a little quicker to show you some techniques here. So now this flower looks a little too outlined. So I'm going to try to add some definition and value and details and texture, and I'm using the red as my shading color value, as my darker value, because I think that's going to look nice. And looking at my picture, the shadow down here actually has quite a bit of green in it, so I'm going to switch over to the blue in a minute to see what we think. I want to get a little bit more of this in here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to get this to be a nice sharp point. And I'm doing light pressure because I don't want a lot of blue in this. And you can see it's going to dirty up my yellow flower, but I'm trying to get the value to punch the yellow bit a little bit down, punch the intensity of it a little bit. So, and you can see the intensity, the color is really saturated here, and I'm going over the red, going over the stem with the red up here because I want to make that a little brown, just to make that a little darker. And again, to add the colors, the layering makes the colors a little more interesting. And that's going to take practice. You're going to have to trial and error and see what works. So now I'm going back in with the yellow, and I'm pressing pretty hard because I do want this to be a lot of yellow, unlike what I said at the beginning, but that was on purpose because you can't really take this yellow off. If you went right in and pressed hard like this at the beginning, you couldn't really add much to it, or it'd be more difficult to. And by doing this, I'm also blending the colors And even though I put the blue over this yellow, it's going to make it a little green. But because I have the yellow on top, it's going to be more of a yellow-green than a green-yellow, if you understand what I'm saying. Which I know you do. Got a smart group watching me here. I think that's complimenting myself and you, so that was pretty good. Alright, so the petals, they're not orange. I mean, the center cone here, it's not orange, but it's certainly much more orange. So I'm just going at it. Really burnishing that color. And I'm going to go back in with some more orange to try to define something. So we can see some definition in here. And I think I'm going to need the blue. Just in the deep dark part of it. And I'm going from the sharp edge, the inside of the flower. And then I'm going to go it softly out, so that creates that edge and defines the flower. And because I'm going from the line out, that's because I don't really want that line, so I'm trying to make that and then soften it. So it's really just where the shadow hits the highlight edge, and that's all that is. And then down here there's a shadow where I don't know what the names of these parts of the flowers are, but wherever the cone here, I guess, hits the petals that come out. And again, I drew that line, but I'm trying to soften it out. Okay. And let's see if we can blend that with this Colorless Blender and soften that up with some more. Oh yeah. And when I was doing this before, I didn't either know of colorless blenders, or maybe they weren't even around when I was doing this. So what I would do is I would use white as the colorless blender. And obviously that's not colorless, so it would lighten everything that I was doing. But then I would go in and put more color on it. Okay. Now I'm going to just try to burnish. And burnish is when you get this really waxy buildup where it becomes very shiny. So I'm going to try to do that right at the top here, just to show you the effect. But we don't need to watch me do the whole card like that. And I'm being careful of trying to keep this edge clean. I'm pressing pretty hard now. And when I'm not right on the edge, I'm doing little circles to try to get into the grain of the paper, and so I don't have any noticeable pencil strokes, because that's just not what I want in this instance. So you can see if you can see that right in the upper corner. So that's it for now. This demonstration for March 2019, Smile, Create, Repeat. Let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, thank you so much, and remember to smile, create, repeat.